Captain's log 61209.5. It's been weeks since leaving Tars Lamora for good. That dream of finding a place where we can be accepted is becoming real.
So, the Borg are back. Yes, Star Trek Prodigy does the Borg, but does it do the Borg justice? Let's talk about this episode and let's find out.
Alert. Vessel detected.
What the hello?
Whoa, what are we even looking at? Is that a ship?
Welcome back to the channel, everyone. This is AJ, your host here. On a weekly basis, I do review Star Trek, whatever Star Trek series it may be, with the exception of Lower Decks, because I don't review comedy. It's all lost in translation to me. But anyway, so here we are, episode 12 of Star Trek Prodigy, with an episode entitled Let Sleeping Borg Lie. Now, if you're like me and you're a Star Trek fan, inevitably you like the Borg. However, over the years, the Borg haven't really been done justice. Star Trek Voyager did go a long way to weaken them as a threat to Starfleet, and everything they could do overcome the Borg very quickly. But here we are at this episode. This episode continues on from where we left off with last week, where Gwyn revealed that she actually remembers everything. And in the holodeck, Gwyn reveals the true plan of the Diviner. Yes, on board the ship, there is a weapon. There's a weapon hidden on board the ship that destroys Starfleet, that actively destroys Starfleet, but is okay with everyone else. This is the reason why, in the last episode, the space station that they visited sort of turned on itself and started firing upon itself, because of this weapon. And they come to learn that this weapon is on board the ship, but Janeway has the hologram. She knows nothing about it. And also the character of Jacob Mogg, he reckons that he should know where it is, being that he's the engineer of the ship. He doesn't know of any other weapon. So they go in search of it, and they find a subdeck underneath the bridge. And down in the subdeck is this ring, this circular type weapon that sort of moves. And it turns out to be a sort of living weapon from the future. Yeah, and when they fire upon it, this weapon is able to protect itself. As this occurs, they then get a call of a nearby ship. There's a ship on their scanner, and it turns out to be a Borg cube. Yes, a realised Borg cube in the show. It's there, and you can even see the sphere, which is great. The sphere from Star Trek First Contact that comes out, that sort of thing. You can see that visibly in it. Anyway, the Borg cube is in a dormant state for reasons. All the Borg are asleep on board. And Janeway warns the crew that they best get out of here because the Borg. But Dal is intrigued. He's intrigued to go on board the Borg vessel, because when he learns that they're a hive mind and they incorporate everyone's sort of consciousness and being to their own, he realises that it's possible that they actually may be able to help with this weapon that they've got on board, to use their systems to find a way of counteracting the weapon. So on board they go. Now, instead of beaming aboard, we get a shot of the ship flying into or through the Borg cube, which looks fantastic. We've never seen this before. Sort of very reminiscent of sort of Independence Day, you know. And they land the ship on a landing platform and they head off into the Borg cube. They come across the Borg that are sleeping and are at rest, and they find a place where they can link with the Borg, but one of them has to join the Borg collective, so to speak, consciousness, the hive consciousness. So this falls on Zero. Now, Zero himself as a character, we haven't had much to do with him, but in this episode we get quite a bit. Now, he's feeling bad because of what happened with Gwen, and him showing Gwen seeing his true form, and that he harmed her and all this sort of stuff. So he promises not to harm, or he doesn't want to harm anyone else ever again. Being part of a hive mind himself, he deems himself the most relevant person to join the hive mind of the Borg to find out about this weapon, and he does so, and in doing so he actually gets converted or Borgified himself. His sort of essence turns green and that sort of a thing, and the crew get captured with the exception of Gwen, after a bit of a shootout, after the Borg have woken up, and they go after Gwen goes after the crew, who they're being about to be converted into Borg, but not like what we see in First Contact with the sort of things that come out, the pipes and inject the nanobots. They're in sort of like a Borg conversion chamber, about to be Borgified, and Gwen goes in to rescue him, but she gets caught herself, and Zero's in there, and Zero's been Borgified himself, and he's about to start the conversion on Jankum Pog. But Gwen reaches out to Zero, and she manages to get him to overpower the Borg consciousness that's taken over him, and because he's part of a consciousness himself, a hive mind, he manages to overpower the Borg and essentially put them all back to sleep, thus enabling the crew to escape. However, the crew don't escape with the knowledge that they want, with the information to get rid of this weapon. They come to realise that they're actually stuck with this weapon on board the ship. There's nothing they can do to remove it. The best they can do is keep away from Starfleet, but use the Starfleet vessel, the Protostar, to help out other people until they can find such a time when they can do something about this onboard weapon, because like we said, it doesn't affect anyone else, it just affects Starfleet vessels and all this sort of thing. While this is all going on, we do get a couple of cutaways with Janeway. I'm not talking about hologram Janeway, I'm talking about the Admiral Janeway on board her vessel chasing after the Protostar. Obviously the Diviner is on board in a sort of unconscious state himself when they found him in the last episode, and he's in their sick bay. And then at the end of the episode, Janeway turns up at the point of this space station. No survivors, the space station's been destroyed, and obviously this leads her to believe that feasibly the crew on board the Protostar has done this, so she needs to catch up with them to stop them. However, what will happen when they catch up, we don't know, because this weapon now on board will no doubt affect Janeway's ship in some shape or form when she does inevitably catch up with them. So this was a good episode. It was a very good, it was the Borg. I mean, how can you not like the Borg? You know, the soundtrack for the episode was you know, spooky enough. Going on board the hive mind Borg ship, fantastic, when all the drones are asleep, and you know, it brought back memories of best of both worlds. The scenery looked fantastic. Flying into the ship looked great. Like I said, something I don't think we've seen. Have we seen that before in Voyager? Possibly, I don't know. It's been a long time since I've watched Voyager itself. Been like one of my least favourite Star Trek series of the originals, that is. Yeah, but overall, a good episode. Some great character motivation in there. Some great character growth with Zero, with Gwen, primarily them two. Yeah, a good episode. So tell me your thoughts on this. Where do you think this is going to lead to? What do you think is going to happen when Janeway catches up with the Protostar? It's going to get to that, obviously. And where's Chakotay? Will they find Chakotay? These questions still open. It'd be interesting to see what happens. Great episode. Let me know your thoughts down below in the comments, what you thought of this episode and where you think the show is heading. This is AJ. Don't forget, hit that subscribe button. Come and join the channel. I do review Star Trek on a weekly basis, and obviously when Picard Season 3 starts up again, I will be reviewing that weekly as well. So hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell, but more importantly, leave a comment. Let's have a nice discussion about Star Trek, about the good, the bad, the ugly, whatever you want to talk about. And I'll see you soon. Take care all, and goodbye.
We may not be ready for Starfleet, but we're ready to take your orders.